Okay guys, the first thing you need to do when you're building out a wheel is find out your ERD measurement, which is the effective rim diameter. Most manufacturers will give you this measurement on their websites, but I never go by that. I always measure it myself. Probably several ways of measuring this, but the way I do it is I have two bits of old spokes which are both cut down to exactly 200 millimeters, and a bit of rubber band between the two, which you'll see why in a minute, and a couple of nipples and a rule. Fortunately, I left my engineer's rule at work, so I've got this plastic old thing. So the first thing you need to do is just pick a hole, any hole, thread your spoke in, store your nipple on the end, just wind it on until it's flush, as if it would be in a perfect wheel build. And then you want to find a hole that's perfectly opposite. And do the same. And the rubber band would just pull that taut. And keep them perfectly parallel to each other. Then you just want to take your ruler and measure the gap between the two. So that's 197. So I will write that down. And then that measurement I've just taken there, I will add to the 200 to 400 plus. That will give me my ERD across that line. But it's good practice if not just to take your measurement in one place on the rim. It's good to do it in take the measurement in a few places, just in case the rim's not perfectly round, which generally it is. I've never had a carbon rim that's out of round before. Maybe some of the older alloy rims used to sometimes be a little bit egg-shaped. Just repeat the same process. Once you've got your ERD, next you'll need your hub flange diameters and also the measurement from the centre of the hub to your hub flange. You can get these measurements off your hub manufacturer's website. Most of them should have them available, quite easy to find. And then with those measurements and your rim ERD that you've measured, you can go online and use an online spoke calculator and then input all your measurements into the calculator, and it'll give you the dimensions of the length of spokes that you require. You will have to enter what type of lacing pattern you're going to do. Most commonly it's a 3-cross pattern, which is what I will be doing. And also worth noting, these are asymmetric rims, so the holes are 2 millimeters off centre, which you will also have to input that measurement onto the calculator. And they'll take into account spoke stretch, and you'll need to input what size spoke you're using so that it can calculate that spoke stretch. So once you've done all that and you've got your spoke lengths, then you can order those, which I've got here. These are some Sapin CX-Ray spokes, which are one of the best spokes in the market, I believe. And I'll be using a carbon tie hub. This is for my front wheel, which is Boost 110mm wide hub. Right, so first we're going to start with lacing the wheel. See, there's several ways of doing this. Everyone's going to have a different way of doing it. I'm just showing you how I do it. My spokes are separated here because they're two different sizes. One is longer than the other. Not sure which. Let's have a quick look. So that one's longer. So I always start from the right hand side of your hub. So obviously disc goes on the left, so the right side will be this side. And the right side will have the longer spoke. So that'd be these spokes. Probably your most important spoke is the first one. You got to obviously work out where that one goes first. What I normally do is I get the graphic on the hub, because I'd like to line a graphic up with the spoke, with the valve hole, so that it looks nice and neat. So that'd be my center point, and then you want to take the holes just to the left of your writing, and then count back how many crosses your wheel build's going to be. So for us that would be 3. So I'll go 0, 1, 2, 3. This will be my first spoke. So I'm just going to I oil my threads and nipples. Some people won't do that, but I do. Obviously you need to work out which side your asymmetric needs to go. So the hub will be the left hand side of the hub, the right hand side. So you want your asymmetric holes offset to the right on this particular hub. And obviously take note of the spoke hole direction that they're drilled. So this will be my first spoke, which I've got through the hub there. We'll go through this hole, which is next to the valve hole, and obviously it's going to be coming off onto the right hand side of the hub. So I'll just pop my nipple into there. I use one of these tools for tightening down the nipples. This one's designed to go in like a battery drill or something, but I don't bother. I just use it by hand, spin it like a little screwdriver. You just locate that onto your hub, onto your nipple, sorry. And your first spokes, they want to go in from the outside in, because that would be really hard to do that afterwards if you do the others first. So I'm just going to locate that first spoke, wind the thread down just till the thread disappears into the hub there, into the nipple, sorry, just like so. So that's the first spoke installed. Grab another spoke. Then it doesn't matter which way which way round you go. We'll go right. See, miss one hole. Grab another nipple. I'll just use another spoke just to insert a nipple into the hole. Otherwise, it's not much fun when you drop them into the hollow part of the rim and try and get those out. So now you want to count 4 holes to the right, because obviously I've gone to the right on the hub here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the next one will go in there. And just tighten that down the same. So there's your first 2. And obviously when the hub's in its final position, it'll look like this. So as you can see, the graphic will line up with the valve hole up there where the rim graphic is. So now I'm just going to repeat that process for the rest of the spokes on that side. Okay, that first side of spokes is done. Now you want to turn it over. And I'll start with keeping that valve bit at the top. So now I want to move over to my shorter spokes. So if you look down the hub here, you can see the hole that's opposite, just to the right. You want to go through that one. And then that one will go into the hole next to the one you've done already. And then you just follow that pattern right the way around. Just remember to put a bit of oil on my threads and nipples. And just repeat the same process. Use every other hole and just put it in next to the one you've already done. Obviously to the right each time. Okay, now you've done that side, just want to flip it back around the other way. You might notice every time I move the end of the spoke anywhere near the rim, I always keep my finger on the end. The reason for that is the end of this thread is pretty razor sharp, and if that goes anywhere near your rim, it's just going to scratch your rims up. So whenever you're manoeuvring the spokes around near the rim, just keep your finger on the end so it can't scratch your nice shiny wheels. Right. Now you want to go back to the other size spoke, which is the shorter ones. So you just want to place this through one of the empty holes. Just rotating the hub so that it's somewhere near where it needs to be, as in the graphic, near to your spoke hole. Because obviously the spokes go in at an angle, and then this next lot of spokes are going to go back in the opposite direction. So this will go into that hole, because obviously it's crossing 3 spokes, going across 1, 2, 3. So that'll go through into that hole. So that's where I'll put my first nipple there. If this spoke isn't next to the same hole as a spoke from the same side, you know you've got it in the wrong hole. This one goes on the same side, so they shouldn't be next to each other, and likewise over here. Should always be a gap in between. So you're going over that spoke, and then we want to go under this one. Like I say, watch the end, doesn't scratch your rims. There's several different types of nipple drivers you can get. There's plenty on the market. Some of them have got like large handles and stuff, but I don't really like those. They seem to be a bit cumbersome and a bit slow, really. As you can hear, I've dropped one of the nipples inside the rim, so that's going to be fun trying to get that out in a minute. So obviously we're coming back from the other side of the hub now with this next line of spokes. So obviously I've gone to the next hole there. There we go. 1, 2, 3, over, under. It's perfectly fine to flex the spokes quite a bit when you're installing them, but just don't bend or kink them, because that will damage them, fatigue them, and cause them to fail prematurely. And like I say, just do the nipples up to the thread out of sight. Don't be tempted to do it up any tighter, otherwise it will really mess things up for you later on when you're trying to get these other last few remaining spokes in, because you just won't be able to get them in because it'll be too tight. Back through from the other side. Okay, that's that next lot done on that side. Just gonna flip it around. Oh, there's that nipple. So now I'll go back to the valve hole. The last remaining spokes. Just going to do this one first to make sure I've actually built this wheel correctly. So this is going to be going across 1 spoke, 2 spoke, 3 spoke. So we want this hole obviously from the other side. Like so. Obviously make sure you line up the bend so that it drops in. This is where you want to be careful not to scratch your wheel because it gets pretty tight now. You've got a lot of spokes in the wheel. And the good news is everything's gone to plan. Your aim is to that spoke hasn't quite gone into the hub properly, that one. It's a bit tight. Okay, your aim when you're building the wheels is to obviously have a nice large gap here where your valve is going to be. So obviously you don't want your valve in here or in here because you try and get your track pump in that little gap, you can have great fun there. So obviously this big gap is where you want to have your valve hole. So obviously it's nice and easy to get your track pump in there. Obviously if you follow everything step by step, then that should be right. If it's not right, then start again. 'Cause you don't want your valve hole in one of these gaps and can't even pump up your tyres. Okay, just repeat that process for the last few spokes. Like I say, be careful with the ends not to scratch because it gets pretty tight now, manoeuvring around all these spokes. You'll probably find with this last row of spokes that they're getting a bit too tight to screw all the way up. Don't worry about this last row, just leave them a little bit loose, and once you've got them all in you can tighten those down first before you start the tensioning process. Make sure they're all roughly equally tensioned. Obviously make sure you keep the spoke as straight as possible as you feed it through the hub. These spokes aren't too bad because they're so skinny, but you get some larger spokes and you'll struggle to get them through the hub unless perfectly in line. Just keep following the same procedure. Make sure you're crossing 1, 2, 3 spokes and under the last one. As you can see, it's starting to look like a wheel now. Most people should be able to do this at home. As you can see, you don't need too many tools really. hardly any tools really, apart from the, or even that, you could use a screwdriver or something if you wanted. Be a bit fiddlier, but if you're only planning to build one set of wheels, then that'd be fine. Okay, this is the last spoke going in now. As I said, the spoke's fairly flexible, but don't be too heavy-handed with them because obviously they are very thin. Obviously I haven't got much leverage on my tool here, so I'm just going to use my spoke key just to get those last few turns on that last row of spokes we put in. Okay, they're all roughly equally tightened now. That's the first stage of your wheel build, which is the wheel laced up now. Obviously there's not really any tension in the spokes, they all need straightening and bending, but that'll be in the next stage, which lacing the wheel is something that sort of most home mechanics can do themselves, but when it comes to drilling and tensioning the wheel, I wouldn't recommend doing that yourself because there's a lot of specific tools and experience needed. But I will do another separate video on that if you are interested in learning. So that's that one finished for now. Now I'm going to do a second wheel build. I'm not going to talk you through that, I'll just do a time lapse or something. It's pretty much the same, just to rear wheel, different spokes, different colours, different sizes. Hopefully interesting to watch. Okay, this is my next wheel build. Like I said, I'm not going to talk you through this one, I'm just going to quickly show you what parts I've got. So I've got a DT240S Boost 148mm 12mm axle rear hub, and I've already replaced the standard graphic for an orange one to obviously match the nipples and the graphic. And I've got some black DT Revolution spokes for this. Luckily these ones are all the same size because of the dimensions of the hub and the asymmetric rim. We got the same length spokes both sides, makes things a little easier. I'll go ahead and get started on this. I think I'll give you a bird's eye view of this one. Okay guys, that's another one finished. Obviously it's a bit quicker when I'm not having to talk my way through it. It took me 20 minutes to lace that wheel up. Like I mentioned, stay tuned if you want to see the tensioning and tuning process, which you might want to learn how to do yourself. Thanks for watching guys. Please like and subscribe to see some of the upcoming videos.